Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another third-party unlicensed 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at the Mars Toys Enigma Villain 2-pack, aka Frank Gorshin's Riddler in both of his iconic outfits, based off his appearance in the classic 1966 Batman series, starring Adam West as the Caped Crusader. Now, I got mine as a review sample from Mars Toys, organised by 1/6 Kit. I've popped a link to Kit's website for your reference purposes only in the description below. As always, this is by no means a promotional video, it's a review. All opinions are 100% my own. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new Mars Toys figure review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, they always hit when it comes to their artwork, and this time is no exception. Up front, we've got an image of Frank Gorshin in costume, with a bunch of filters on it, to make it look more cartoony. There's even a white outline around the edge. Question marks in the background, then down below, Enigma Villain, his third-party name. On the side of the box, a lot of green. It's the Riddler, that makes sense to me, but there's a gradient effect to it. It's lightest up top, then darkest in the middle, where it says 1/6 scale collectible figure in this very retro-looking font. Around the back, they've introduced some purple, for this box containing the socials, warnings, and legal information. It's also a callback to that Riddler outfit. I've got a question for you. Which look for Frank Gorshin's Riddler do you prefer? I'm leaning towards this one, but I also like this look. It's tricky because it's not like he wore one outfit for season 1 then switched it up for season 2 in the movie. No. Both looks were always in play. He used them interchangeably. Sometimes within the same episode you got both of his outfits. So that's why I think it makes sense that this is a 2-pack. Because let's be honest, if they were single-packed and came with different head sculpts and different accessories, we'd likely pick up both of them anyway. So doing it like this, they've saved us the hassle. The slipcover, nice and simple, green background, black question mark. You know what? Thank goodness for companies like Mars Toys, because Hot Toys gave us Batman and Robin. But that's it. No Catwoman, no Batgirl, no Penguin, no Alfred, and no Riddler. First in-hand impressions for his Spandex outfit look? So far so good. I'm loving the vibrant colours and the sharpness of the tailoring. Moving on to the suited Riddler, this head sculpt oozes personality. I can't wait to get stuck in. What we're going to do now is lay out all of their accessories in the light box and take a closer look at everything they come with. Holy full frame of accessories, Batman, that's a shitload of stuff. But don't forget, this being a 2-pack, you need to share the accessories across both figures, except for the hands and the bases. Starting off with the display base first, we get 2 of them. They're the exact same base. That doesn't really bother me. I like that they're matching, in fact. For the print quality up top, satin finish for the green background with darker green dots on it, and a textured finish for the Batman logo in the middle. That's new for them. This is still a sticker, there's some bubbles in it, I wish they weren't there, but overall, it comes across way higher quality because of the mix of finishes versus what we got with Joker and Dynamic Duo. Around the front, Riddler on a real etched metal nameplate, then up top, a height adjustable crotch grabber. They've popped some soft rubber stoppers on the crotch grabber so it shouldn't mar up the front of his outfit if this is pressing against it. If you pre-ordered this, you get 3 wildly different head sculpts. This one is the pre-order bonus sculpt. We'll try out all 3 sculpts on both bodies later on and discuss them in way more detail. For now, all you need to know is we get 1 sculpt for each body and a bonus one if you pre-ordered. This mask is made of fabric with an elastic strap on the back of it. That means you have to slide it over the sculpts. Just be careful when you're doing that. Don't worry, I'll show you what he looks like wearing it. His bowler hat, sculpted PVC plastic, but there's so much texture on it. And it's compatible with all of the head sculpts. There's a real fabric ribbon around the base on the inside of the brim, with a bow on one side. And a raised sculpted question mark up front done in high gloss green. Would you believe me if I told you in the 66 Batman movie, Riddler used these when he was riding a flying penguin umbrella? Yes, you heard that correctly. They're painted in matte black mostly. We've got some shiny metallic gold sections, then a green raised question mark in the middle. There's some articulation for the two side pieces and the question mark. So if you have them all the way down, you can adjust it so that it sits in the middle, or when you open them up, you need to adjust it again. The only complaint I have with these is there's no gloss front or back for the lenses. I'd like to pick up the pace now for some of this smaller stuff. His detonator has a functioning top actuating lever you can push it in and out, painted in shiny metallic silver for both the lever and the main body of it. Then the string, nice and shiny too. And there's a lot of it. So you can have it draping off the edge of his base, so it doesn't look like it's randomly ending connected to nothing. We get a pie of some kind with a plate sculpted underneath it. There's a mix of different finishes, tan, white, off-white for the cream sections, and is that meant to be chocolate up on top? I think so. Then the crucifix from the episode Hi Diddle Riddle, the first episode in the entire series where Riddler accuses Batman of falsely accusing him of trying to steal this. And then he sues Batman. Yep, that's what happens. The sculpt work is impeccable on this, and it's painted in a dull-ish, still shiny metallic gold. Two spray cans with actual holes for the nozzles and some sculpted detail around the back. This would be red paint and this would be white. The gun also from the episode Hi Diddle Riddle, which turned out not to be a gun at all actually. It was a lighter. There's a flame coming out the top ejection port. That flame looks extremely fragile, especially that thin top piece. It's packaged separately, not in the spot that was designated for it in the clam tray, instead in a plastic baggie taped to the underside of the top part of the clam tray. From the episode Ring Around the Riddler, some Everlast boxing shorts, and some of the most impressive boxing gloves I've ever seen in this scale. The intense leather grain texture, the wrinkling, the stitching, the laces on the back, painted in yellow, with a black wash over the top. I can't wait to try these out on him. There's peg ports on the inside, so these connect to his wrist pegs. You do not slide them over his closed fists. One oversized ancient book, sculpted plastic, not a real book, you can't open it. I'm a fan of 1/6 scale real printed books, so this lets me down a little. It looks rough, but don't forget, this series was shot in the 60s. So it has a real TV show prop vibe about it, with a heavy brown wash and words that are completely illegible on the spine. Bat cuffs, functional, of course, you can open these up, there's serrated teeth so they sit in there securely, with a real metal chain. This is probably reused from the Dynamic Duo set. His cane, sculpted plastic, it's rigid enough so that there's very little flex to it. I don't think this is going to sag or droop over time. The same thing can be said for the laser beam attachment that slots in securely, I might add, to the front part of the barrel for his Thompson machine gun. Red plastic, it's a convincing laser beam effect. It's not going to droop down. The wood grain sections have wood grain painted on the surface, not sculpted, they're completely smooth. Gunmetal for the main body of the gun, with a lighter silver dry brush on it. No moving parts, and seeing as though this is a laser-based weapon, that makes sense. The entire dehydrated security council. Inside these little test tubes, there's real colored sand or something. So when you move them around, the sand also moves around, and they're removable from this test tube holder rack piece, painted in shiny metallic silver. Can you take the stoppers out and pour out one of the security council members? Yeah, probably. And lastly, a very full array of hands for both Riddlers. The same array, but so many gestures and pairs for every single one of them. They're cast in PVC plastic, flexible enough so that you don't need to heat them up to install them on the body, or to pop accessories inside the gripping hands. These ones, they're meant to be used with the spray cans. Then we've got thumbs up hands, pointing finger hands, splayed out finger open palm hands, and the sculpt work is crazy good. The baggy looking material sculpted in with the wrinkling and the stitching and the leather grain texture. I keep saying that sort of stuff, but that's the best way to describe what's going on. There's darker shading over the top for the pinkish purple hands, and skin tone painted around the inside for both sets. Trigger finger hands, closed fists, gripping hands once again, easy as to pry the fingers open. 2 relaxed open palm hands in both colours installed on both bodies right out of the box. This one was already wearing the watch, so I don't count it as a bonus accessory, it's just part of his outfit. What we're going to do now is get both Riddlers out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. The best part about this is being a 2-pack, you don't need to choose. Both looks for Riddler in the same box. Do I have a favourite though? Yeah, I do. We'll touch more on that a little bit later. With them both here rotating around in front of me, the head sculpts both pop for different reasons, and the tailoring has to be some of the best, finest, sharpest 1/6 scale tailoring that I've ever seen from any company. That includes Hot Toys. So does that mean they're Hot Toys quality? Maybe. That remains to be seen. Up close and personal, that is quite the head sculpt. Very expressive. We'll get stuck into it. But before we do, how this is going to work is we'll try all 3 head sculpts on this body first, then subsequently discuss this body, before moving on to the other one. And we'll do all 3 head sculpts on that one as well. Kicking things off with this sculpt, it's probably my favourite of the 3. The likeness to Frank Gorshin I find strongest at this angle, but everywhere I can totally see him. We'll install the mask as well, I'm curious to see what that looks like. Skin texture, well sculpted and painted, the crow's feet right there, that's awesome. There's vein work on the neck, you can spot that down below under his chin. Some more wrinkling for his skin around the edges of his mouth. 5 o'clock shadow. And he's got a tongue sculpted inside his mouth, which is painted to look like it's wet and glossy. His teeth, a little bit of a shine to them. I find that tilting this head sculpt back is the best option because he's looking down at you. Then we get to his hair. At this point in Frank Gorshin's career, his hairline was receding. You can see that it's thinning around the edge, some scalp poking through. They've feathered the edge of that hairline, and they've sculpted the hair very nicely. It's fullest around the back, and I've just spotted all of this wrinkling back here that tucks into the collar for his outfit. Installing the mask, it's not the most difficult thing in the world to do. You simply slide it over his head sculpt. He wore it occasionally, every now and then. Most of the time when he had the mask on, it was sitting down around his neck as though he was about to wear it. Going with a fabric mask was a bold choice. In the show, it looked kinda janky, and in 1/6 scale, they captured that look perfectly. I was worried about switching head sculpts on this body because of the suit collar, for good reason. It was not easy. There's no real trick to it. Just pop the head sculpt on however you can, and after you've situated it, you can fix the collar and fold it back over itself. This sculpt is still impeccably well crafted. Skin texture, rosy shading, the vein work, it's all there. But I prefer how expressive this sculpt is. So while I like that it's included, I don't think I'm ever going to rock him wearing it. Once you remove the mask, the likeness intensifies. Something about this sculpt with the mask on, it makes it look less like Frank Gorshin. So if I ever did rock him like this, it would be maskless, or I'd have it dangling down around the base of his neck. It's weird, the neutral expression sculpt is the only one that doesn't scream Frank Gorshin with the mask on. More so off than on. Whereas the other two, they work either way. When you do pop his mask on, just watch out for the elastic bits. They sit inside, behind the darker purple for the mask. If you have them on the outside, then they flare out and they look terrible. Bringing the mask down, exposing the rest of this head sculpt, I love it. Do I prefer it over the first one? Maybe. I'm not sure yet. I have to sit down and think about it after this review is done. But the eyes off to one side, looking down, how he's holding his mouth with the corner turned up, exposing his glossy teeth, the shading for the skin, the vein work once again, the veins popping out for his temples. Whenever he made expressions like this or this in the show, he went very red, and his veins were popping out. So that part of it, they nailed. How about the outfit? Did they nail that? It seems so simple. The spandex outfit with some screen-printed question marks dotted around the place. There is so much more to it than that. Number one, the quality of the spandex. This isn't that cheap stuff that Hot Toys used on 66 Batman and Robin. It shouldn't get marred up. You won't see any fuzzy bits or loose threads, even if you run your fingers across the surface. My 66 Batman, I've always only handled by grabbing him from his belt. I've never touched the spandex. Yet somehow, there's fuzzy bits all over it. This guy, I've already handled the shit out of this costume and there's no sign of that whatsoever. The weave for the spandex is going in the correct direction. It's nice and stretchy. It's a 4-way stretch, I believe. And the screen-printed question marks, they are not distorted when this outfit sits on the body. That cannot have been easy to accomplish. Because if you think about it, they would have screen-printed the question marks when the outfit was not installed on the body. Meaning they have to accommodate for the stretch once they put it on there. The same thing goes for the mini question marks around the cuffs for his sleeves. They would need to accommodate for that distortion. And then we get to the fabric itself, how it cups the wrist pegs and sits on the inside of the gloves like that. So if you bend his elbows to the max, the sleeves, they're not going anywhere. They're locked in place. It's not like they're going to ride up exposing ugly skin tone plastic or his wrist pegs. But even if they did, on this side, he's got a wristwatch on. You can adjust the strap, and I needed to out of the box. It was a lot looser than this. It was sitting up quite high. I took it off, tightened the strap. Now it's still adjustable, but nowhere near as loose. It's just me now sitting here overcomplicating this outfit design, but another thing they had to watch out for is visible articulation. Can you see the elbow joints? No. Can you see the cut for the midsection? No. Anything at the waist? Well, he's got the cummerbund on, but also no. Visible articulation for the knees? A touch, but that comes across like human anatomy poking through a spandex outfit. The only ugliness is down here for the ankles. Let's come back to that. His cummerbund is a rubbery style fabric, and it's got this X-like tied up pattern on the back of it. Some stitched in panels where these bits would connect to it. That is show and movie accurate. I literally just watched the 66 Batman movie again, and when he turned around, yep, I saw that. So that means there's a padded fat suit underneath the spandex. Usually fat suit is a dirty word in 1/6 scale because it ruins articulation. Does it ruin articulation here? We will find out in the articulation segment. Stay tuned for that. There's some bunching for the fabric underneath his armpits, so when you bring the arms up, there's enough excess fabric so that that's even possible. Doesn't bother me. This was a spandex suit made in the 60s for the series, so there would be some visible ugliness here and there, like that stuff around the back. His trunks, they're adjustable, so if you find they're bunching in an unsightly way under his crotch, bring them down and you should be able to eliminate most of that. They're also a lighter colored fabric versus the rest of the suit, show accurate. Going with the fat suit, it not only hides the joints, but it gives him this strongman, almost doughy look. Not saying Frank Gorshin was doughy, but spandex always, because of the tightness of it, when you're wearing it, compresses your body and isn't all that flattering. So the fat suit, I believe, was necessary for the articulation and for the overall look. Coming down to his legs, screen-printed question marks from underneath the trunks all the way down to his ankles. I haven't mentioned this yet, but the mix of finishes is on point. Matte for the suit, satin finish for the cummerbund. It's not super shiny, but there's a little bit of reflectivity going on. Glossier symbols, and there's a subtle sheen for his gloves. No distortion whatsoever on these mini question marks running down his legs. The weave for the spandex is going in the correct direction up and down. Then we get to his slippers. Believe it or not, Frank Gorshin actually wore these slippers in the show and the movie. Someone said in a review that they look like granny slippers. Yeah, I see it. But they're supposed to be there. If you don't like them, you can remove them. And the suit is finished all the way down to his toes. There's some shading on the front of the slippers and around the edge, plus a lighter sole on the underside. The boxing accessories. So episode and scene specific. It's from the episode Ring Around the Riddler, where he's trying to take control of prize fighting in Gotham, so he enters the ring with the Caped Crusader. The only thing I want now is some matching yellow Everlast trunks for Batman and some boxing gloves, so I can have Adam West's Batman in the ring with this Riddler. Boxing gloves attached to the wrist pegs quite securely, and you still have a little bit of articulation out of them. Plenty of texture and detail, but you already know that. Then the trunks themselves. They're a shiny, almost metallic finish, especially for the blue sections. And there's an Everlast logo up front. The trunks in the show also had that Everlast logo. If I remember correctly, in the show, whenever he was doing more physical stuff, like boxing with Batman or running around with the other crooks, he was wearing spandex. For criminal mastermind type schemes, such as suing Batman, yes, that actually happened in the show, the suit came into play. This is the head sculpt that comes on this body right out of the box. Installing his bowler hat, now the look is complete. Just be careful. Pushing this all the way down, it sits on his forehead, and the last thing you want is any kind of paint transfer. So maybe heat the hat up first, then push it on there, so it slightly reshapes as you're installing it. With it on, yeah. This look, this head sculpt, this hat, is how I'm rocking him. I always say that stuff so confidently, like that's the only option I would ever consider, until I try something else. The serious expression sculpt, it's not lost on me that I flip-flop sometimes, and this is one of those times. This head sculpt, this body, the bowler hat, he looks like he's to be taken seriously. He doesn't have a zany expression on his face. He's sitting there, and he's plotting something. Not to mention, this hat, it sits in exactly the right spot, doesn't look oversized, and it complements this head sculpt. Help me out, will you? Let me know what you think. Crazy head sculpts only on spandex, or do they work here? I could go either way at this point. Hat or no hat, no problem. I want to touch on the detail for this sculpt in particular for just a second. They've cast it out of a slightly translucent PVC skin tone plastic. That way, when light bounces off the surface, there's a dewy sheen to it, and it looks like it's got some subsurface scattering going on. Then the wrinkling around his Adam's apple, and the shading. These head sculpts are seriously impressive. The tailoring is sharp as a pin. The stitching all the way down, the faux buttons up front, these pockets aren't real, but this one is, so you can pop a gadget or something in there, press studs to hold the jacket closed, and the weird lining he had on his suit jacket is present. Plus, it's around the back on his vest. So you could display him not wearing the jacket. I'm going with it, because I just think it completes his look. The vest also held in place with press studs. There's a textured weave on the surface for the fabric, and the question marks this time are not screen printed. These are actually part of the fabric itself, some kind of dye sublimation process, I would imagine. His tie, full Windsor knot, an actual tie, with a separate little brooch, a silver question mark, and some red dots that are meant to be rubies, I reckon, on the surface. His shirt, a regular old black shirt. I know I can get technical at times, let me try and simplify it. Dye sublimation is the same thing as printing. Like you print an image on a piece of paper. It's fused, the dye bakes into the surface, and it's part of that material. That's how they did these question marks. Whereas screen printing, they grab the fabric, then it's a complicated process, but there's a screen that they sit over the top of it, they drag this scraper down that screen, and the rubbery material that was on that scraper leaves behind a raised question mark on the surface. That's how they did the other outfit. Two very different methods, but they used both of them in this 2-pack. This is a masterclass in 1/6 scale suiting. Scaling down fabric, custom fabric, to be as thin and lightweight as possible, so it drapes on the body and breaks like that on his shoes. So important. And they did it. They make it look effortless. He's got a Velcro fly up top, real working pockets, but no belt and no belt loops. That is the best option, because if there was a belt buckle, it would push out on the vest and the jacket and look unsightly. There's creases running down the front and the back. Then he's got some real socks underneath his trousers. The shoes, sculpted plastic, leather grain texture, stitching, sculpted laces, some shading, and detail on the underside for the tread. For a quick side-by-side comparison, riddle me this. When is a 2-pack not really a 2-pack? When both of the characters in the box are both the Riddler. Say you've only got room, that was a terrible riddle by the way, but say you've only got room in your collection for one of these at any given time, and you're not interested in rotating between them. How do you pick which one to go with? Let me try and make the case for the spandex suit. It's brighter. There's a massive question mark up front. He's got the purple cummerbund, maybe the mask if you go for it, and the gloves. The wristwatch. He will match better with Batman, who's also wearing spandex. Joker is wearing a suit. 2 suited characters in your 66 display, that's doable. So for me, it's gotta be the spandex. I will make room for both of them, mark my words. But if you simply can't, you've only got one spot left in your 66 display and you have to pick, let me know which one you would go with in the comments. Next up, Hot Toys Batman and Robin. They're interchangeable with the Mars Toys / Saturn Toys ones. Subtle differences, but a lot of similarities because there was recasting going on. The fabric outfits are slightly different. Batman is taller than Frank Gorshin's Riddler, but Robin is a little bit shorter. I've waited so long for this, but nowhere near as long as some of y'all out there who grew up watching the 66 Batman series. Finally, we've got the very first villain from the very first episode of that series in this scale. This is why we love Mars Toys. They paid attention to correct scaling. Hot Toys doesn't always do this. Their Cesar Romero Joker put them on the map for a lot of collectors. They knew full well that Cesar Romero, 6'3", a very tall individual. Frank Gorshin, 5'8". So while Joker came out first, then we got the Riddler, scaling looks bang on. Going over articulation, we'll do both. Even though they've got similar bodies, different padding over those bodies. And I'm curious to see what that does for range of motion. Starting off with Spandex Riddler, ball joint at the base of his head sculpt, looking forward to there, looking up to there, which is just perfect for this eye position, swivel and pivot side to side. His arms are pretty heavily padded, so you can't see the ugliness for the joints poking through the spandex, but they still almost go completely flush down by his sides. Out to there, forward and back on soft ratchets, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow going past 90 no problem, even though there's padding. Then for the wrist peg, it's a hinge and swivel. His torso crunches forward to there, a joint at the midsection and another at the waist, going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward to there, going out to there, squeaky joints, swivel at the upper thigh, double bend at the knee, going past 90. Then yes, unfortunately bunching at the ankles. But it's a double ball peg, good for forward and back, rotation, as well as ankle tilt. Suited Riddler's turn. For his head sculpt, same thing as the other one. Ball joint at the base of the neck. Looking forward to there, up to there, and once again, that works so nicely with that eye position. Swivel and pivot side to side. His arms completely flush down by his sides. Going up to there, forward and back on soft ratchets, there's a butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down. More range out of the arms for Suited Riddler. Swivel at the bicep, double bend at his elbow going past 90. If you find the sleeves aren't long enough to hide the wrist pegs, they are. Grab the excess fabric first, pull it down, then bend his arms at the elbows. For those wrist pegs, hinges and swivels. Joint at the midsection and another at the waist. Crunching forward to there, more restricted because of the multiple layers versus the other outfit. Going back to there, swivel and pivot side to side. His legs will go forward to there, going out to there. Not as squeaky as the other one. Oh, there it is. Swivel at the upper thigh. Double bend at the knee, going the full way. Then a double ball peg for the ankles. Forward and back, more than the other one. Swivel and ankle tilt. Wrapping up on the Batman 66 Riddler 2-pack by Mars Toys. This is their best work to date. Joker, that was something else. But this right here, 2 figures in the one box, with all of the scene-specific accessories, and 3 head sculpts that you can display on either body, with or without the mask, with or without the hat. It's so versatile, and so much fun. The F word, I don't get to use it very often. The other one, sometimes, but fun. I had a blast filming this. The posing potential. Getting to use those accessories with Batman and Robin. And pairing him up with the Joker. And Penguin when he comes out. Fingers crossed, Catwoman and more characters. This line, so far, has been hit after hit. And I know we've just got Joker and Riddler, but 3 different versions of Joker. And now 2 different looks for Riddler. If I had to pick my favorite, though, out of the 2, you already know, it's the Spandex. Now, to answer my question from earlier, is this a Hot Toys quality set? Easily. The detail on the head sculpts, how good the tailoring is, the fact that they actually thought about articulation being visible through the Spandex outfit. Even Hot Toys don't do that sometimes. They've considered every detail. And this set bodes very well for the future of this line and future non-66 Batman figures from them. If they can continue to deliver at this level, I wouldn't be surprised if one day they end up getting licensed and becoming one of the big 1/6 scale companies out there. Now, I got my set as a review sample from Mars Toys, organized by 1/6 Kit. I've popped a link to Kit's site in the description for your reference purposes only. Don't forget, these figures are unlicensed, third-party releases. This is by no means a promotional video, it's a review. All opinions are 100% my own. I have not been asked to say good things. If you're heading down to the description, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button? If you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.